Ladies and gentlemen, let me tell you something tonight that most men will never say out loud. Men talk big, act tough, walk around like they've got everything under control. But when it comes to emotions, a man's body will tell the truth long before his mouth ever does. And one of the loudest truths a man can speak without saying a single word is the way he hugs you. Ladies and gentlemen, let me slow this thing down and tell you a truth most men will never admit out loud. A man's hug will always say what his mouth is afraid to confess. Men are not taught to explain emotions. We are taught to manage them, hide them, bury them, and keep moving. From the time a boy becomes a man, he learns that feelings don't earn applause, results do. So when emotions get heavy, when love starts pressing on his chest, when vulnerability shows up uninvited, he doesn't reach for words, he reaches for a hug. See, a hug is safe for a man. A hug doesn't ask him to be poetic. It doesn't require him to define what he's feeling or risk saying the wrong thing. A hug lets him speak without being exposed. When he wraps his arms around you, what he's really doing is releasing everything he's been holding back. That pressure in his life, that stress on his shoulders, that fear he won't admit, it all travels through his arms. His body becomes the translator for his heart. When a man hugs you and holds you close, he's saying, I don't know how to say this, but you matter to me. When his grip tightens just a little, that's emotion rising. That's attachment. That's concern. That's care. Men don't squeeze what they don't value. They don't linger where they feel nothing. If he could explain it clearly, maybe he would, but men often feel before they understand. So the hug comes first and the words come later, if they come at all. Now understand this, when a man hugs you, he's temporarily dropping his armor. Out in the world, he's expected to be strong, decisive, unshaken. But in that moment with you, his body relaxes because his heart trusts you. That hug means he feels safe enough to stop performing, safe enough to just exist. And that's rare for a man. That kind of emotional safety doesn't happen with everybody. Men don't always know what they're feeling, but their bodies do. The heart recognizes connection before the mind can label it. So when he pulls you in, breathes deeper, and doesn't rush away, that's his heart finding familiarity. That's comfort. That's belonging. He may not be ready to call it love. He may not be able to explain it without getting confused himself. But that hug is him telling the truth the only way he knows how. So when a man hugs you like that, understand what you're receiving. You're not just being held, you're being trusted. You're being chosen in that moment as the place where his emotions can land without judgment. And for a man who has spent his whole life being told to stay strong and stay silent, that hug is the loudest emotional statement he can make. Let me tell you something most people misunderstand about a man's hug. It isn't casual and it isn't accidental. When a man hugs you in a certain way, what's happening inside him is far deeper than what he's willing to admit out loud. Men are not raised to examine emotions in real time. They are raised to move, fix, solve, and endure. So when emotion shows up uninvited, it doesn't come out as a speech, it comes out as action. And one of the most honest actions a man has is the way he holds you. When a man pulls you in close, chest to chest, with no rush to let go, that hug is rooted in emotional safety. In that moment, he feels grounded. Life may be chaotic, responsibilities heavy, expectations relentless, but when he holds you, his nervous system settles. That closeness tells his body that everything doesn't have to be fought right now. Men don't relax easily. They are always on alert, always carrying pressure. So if his body softens while holding you, it means he trusts you enough to let his guard down. That kind of hug also carries attachment, not obsession, not control, attachment. It's the feeling of connection settling into his chest before he's ready to analyze it. He may not even recognize it as love yet. Men often feel emotions long before they understand them. The hug becomes a pause button where his heart can catch up with his mind. That lingering hold is his internal voice saying, "This feels right," even if he hasn't figured out what to do with that feeling yet. There's also fear hidden in that embrace, fear of loss. Men rarely talk about fear in relationships because it makes them feel exposed. But when a man tightens his arms slightly, when his hands stay where they are instead of drifting away, it's because part of him is afraid of the connection ending. He's holding on to a moment that feels real in a world that often doesn't slow down for him. That fear isn't weakness, it's emotional investment showing up before commitment is spoken. Inside that hug, he's also processing responsibility. Men attach love to duty. When he holds you protectively, his instincts are activating. His body is saying, "I want to be here for you. I want to shield you from what I can." Even if he doesn't have everything figured out, even if he's still building his life, that hug is him stepping into a role emotionally before he does it verbally. So when a man hugs you like that, understand what's happening beneath the surface. He's not just touching you, he's regulating his emotions, anchoring himself, and quietly admitting that you matter more than he planned for. A man's hug can reveal emotions he doesn't even realize he's carrying. Men are often disconnected from naming feelings because they're taught early to stay composed and keep moving no matter what's happening inside. So when emotion builds up, it doesn't come out in conversation. It comes out through the body. That's why the way a man hugs, you can feel different from one moment to the next. When he pulls you in slowly, firmly, and with intention, it means something inside him has settled on you as a source of comfort and understanding. In that moment, his body recognizes you as a place where he doesn't have to explain himself. That kind of hug is deeply tied to emotional safety. Men live in a world where they are constantly evaluated by results, by strength, by stability. Vulnerability doesn't get rewarded, so it gets hidden. But when he holds you close without distraction, his body is choosing trust over defense. His breathing slows, his posture softens, and for a few seconds, he's not performing for anyone, he's just being. That's rare for a man, and it only happens when his nervous system feels calm in your presence. He may not say he feels safe with you, but his body already knows there is also attachment forming inside that embrace. Not the kind that demands control, but the kind that creates emotional grounding. When he lingers, when he doesn't rush away, when his hands stay steady instead of restless, that's his heart anchoring itself. Men often struggle with emotional permanence. They fear becoming dependent or losing control. So when his body chooses closeness instead of distance, it means something important has crossed an internal line. He may still be confused about what it means, but emotionally, he's already stepped closer. That hug can also carry unspoken fear, the fear of losing something meaningful. Men don't like to admit fear, especially in relationships, because it feels like surrender. But fear shows up physically. A tighter hold, a longer pause before letting go, a quiet stillness, all signs that he's aware on some level that what he's holding matters. He's not trying to possess you, he's trying to preserve the moment. Inside, he's thinking less about the future and more about not wanting this feeling to disappear. Finally, that hug reflects emotional presence. When a man is fully in the moment with you, his body aligns with his intention. He's not half, they're not distracted, not emotionally elsewhere. That presence means you've crossed beyond being just someone he enjoys into someone who affects him. And when a man reaches that point, even if he never says it clearly, his hug becomes his confession, honest, vulnerable, and real. When a man hugs you a certain way, it's because multiple emotions are moving through him at the same time, and he doesn't yet have language for them. Men are taught to organize their lives through action, not reflection. So when emotional depth shows up, it can feel confusing, even overwhelming. A hug becomes his way of grounding himself. When he wraps his arms around you and holds you close, his body is responding to a connection that feels steady in a world that constantly demands more from him. That closeness helps him regulate emotions he doesn't know how to manage any other way. Inside that hug is trust, not casual trust, but the kind that allows him to relax his posture and stop guarding himself. Men spend most of their lives bracing for impact, criticism, failure, pressure, expectations. If his body softens while holding you, it means he doesn't feel the need to protect himself emotionally in that moment. He may not consciously recognize it, but his nervous system has identified you as safe. That safety is not easily given, and once a man feels it, it becomes deeply meaningful. There is also vulnerability hidden in that embrace. Men fear vulnerability because it exposes parts of them they've been trained to keep under control. But vulnerability doesn't always look like tears or confessions. Sometimes it looks like stillness. When he stays quiet, when he holds you without shifting or fidgeting, it's because he's allowing himself to feel without interruption. That silence is him sitting with emotions instead of running from them. And that takes courage for someone who has spent a lifetime being told to stay strong at all costs. That hug can also carry emotional commitment before verbal commitment appears. Men often feel responsibility before they speak intention. When his arms wrap around you protectively, his instincts are engaging. He may not have said where he's going with you, but inside, something has already clicked into place. His body is rehearsing a role his mind hasn't fully accepted yet. That protective closeness means he's thinking beyond himself, even if he hasn't articulated it. Within that moment, there is also relief. Relief from pressure, from loneliness, from the constant requirement to be composed. Holding you gives him a break from the performance the world expects. It allows him to be human without explanation. That relief creates attachment because humans bond with what brings them peace. And once a man associates peace with a person, that connection runs deep. So when a man hugs you like that, understand that it's not just affection, it's emotional processing, trust, vulnerability, responsibility, and relief all happening at once. Even if he never explains it in words, his body has already told the truth. When a man hugs you in a way that feels intentional and grounded, it's because several emotional layers are unfolding inside him at once. Men are not conditioned to pause and analyze their feelings. They are conditioned to push forward and keep control. So when he stops long enough to hold you, his body is choosing connection over motion. That choice alone reveals that something inside him has slowed down and centered itself around you. In that moment, you are not a distraction from his life. You are a stabilizing force. Within it, that hug often reflects emotional security forming. Men rarely feel emotionally secure, even when they appear confident. There is constant pressure to succeed, to provide, to stay strong. When he holds you close, chest to chest, and doesn't rush to release you, his body is responding to a sense of grounding. His breathing aligns with yours, his muscles relax, and his nervous system calms. That's not accidental. It means being close to you reduces the noise inside him. And humans naturally attach to what brings them calm. There is also a sense of acceptance wrapped into that embrace. Men spend much of their lives feeling evaluated for their achievements, their status, their usefulness. When he hugs you without tension, without performance, it means he feels accepted as he is in that moment. He doesn't feel the need to impress, explain, or defend himself. That acceptance can be deeply emotional for a man, even if he's never learned to label it. The hug becomes a space where he doesn't feel measured. That embrace also carries unspoken loyalty. Men don't always verbalize loyalty early, but they feel it physically. When his arms hold you firmly but gently, that balance shows care without control. He's not trying to dominate the moment. He's trying to protect it. Inside, he's acknowledging that you matter enough to be held with intention. That kind of loyalty often appears in action before it ever appears in words. Finally, that hug reflects emotional presence and priority. When a man is fully present with you, his body gives undivided attention, no drifting, no rushing, no detachment. That presence signals that you're not just someone he enjoys, you're someone who affects him. His mind may still be processing what that means for the future, but emotionally, you're already important. And for a man, importance is not declared lightly. It's felt deeply first, and when it shows up in a hug, it's because his heart has already moved closer than he expected. When a man hugs you in a way that feels deep, steady, and unhurried, it is because a complex mix of emotions is unfolding inside him all at once. Men are not taught to slow down and examine what they feel. They are taught to function, to provide, and to endure. So when he stops long enough to hold you, his body is choosing connection over control. That choice alone tells you that something inside him has shifted. In that moment, his focus is not on the outside world or the pressure waiting for him afterward. It is on the feeling of being close to you and what that closeness gives him emotionally. That hug often reveals a level of trust he may not even be consciously aware of yet. Trust for a man is not just about honesty, it is about emotional safety. If his body relaxes while holding you, if his shoulders drop and his breathing slows, it means his nervous system no longer feels the need to stay guarded. Men carry tension as a form of protection, and releasing that tension is not easy. When he does it with you, his body is acknowledging you as someone who doesn't threaten his sense of self. That kind of trust develops quietly but deeply. Inside that embrace is vulnerability.